Okay, members and friends, it's been a while, eh? This is for my American friends and people that live far away. Not the neighborhood people, right? Not that they're watching it, right? But anyway, I want to talk about this greenhouse. Just the stuff that's been going on. I got all these little clips, right? Maybe I'll put them after this instead of before. Hello, members and friends. This is what I want to say, and this is all the stuff that's been videotaped since the last time I uploaded, when I discovered my bees were taken, right? I had a raccoon there for a while, chasing my chickens around and attacking them, feathers all over the place. Anyway, what I want to do is I want to talk about the stress that my landlord has put me under in terms of the yard and, you know, taking too long sometimes to fix things, right? So we're going to talk about the bathroom, obviously the yard, right? Because that just takes up all my time and it affects my health. And I can't stop, though. I have to keep moving forward. I have to keep trying to bring it all together. My landlord says, don't give up. I say, well, that's easy for you to say, right? But I want to talk about the greenhouse and the various people that have worked on it, in addition to a couple of other little things around here, and the consequences of what happens when you have to do it this way, right? When you have no income, because a lot of the materials around the yard came from Home Depot donated, right? And obviously I bought 4x4s, and I bought nails, and there's things 2x4s I bought, right? There are things that I do buy, right? And right now you can see I'm installing windows and stuff, right? Hold on a minute. Okay. I've been outside, right? And I'm totally stressed out. I'm working every fucking day, right? It's pathetic. My ears are just screaming, people. They're just screaming. Because when you working, lifting, and you're sawing, and you're scared, and, that little jigsaw or whatever it was, and I'm not very strong, right? So I'm like, okay, well, I had Revenue Canada today call me up. Oh, sorry, not Revenue Canada, Provincial Revenues. From the Provincial Services for that ambulance bill. And she says, are you so-and-so? I said, yeah. She says, well, we need to verify who you are before we can continue this conversation. And I said, no, and I hung up on her. Anyway, I'm outside, and now I'm sawing with this, jigsaw, right? And I'm like, I'm scared, right? Because, I'm cutting this little piece of wood, and I'm trying to, and I think the blade is dull, and nobody's helping me, and, I'm afraid I'm going to go gashing into my leg, and I'd be calling up the ambulance, right? But besides the point. So I started off with the frame with my son, because we had a problem with weeds and morning glory and raccoon crap and just whatever, right? That was 4 years ago? We started with the basic frame 3-4 years ago. This is going into my 5th year of being in this yard. I was sanding today, so I can't find my masks. So anyway, my son and I, we did the initial frame, then it sat for a year, whatever, kind of, whatever. And then I really started working on the greenhouse, what, was it last year? Yeah, year before. Year and a half ago, with Patrick and his friend. I went to the homeless shelter because I needed someone to cement these posts for me, 6 of them, right, so that I could, build a greenhouse. Solve the weed problem, solve the dirt problem, right? Solve the domestic wild animal problem and their bad habits. And, it cost me, between the 2 guys, not including the material, because I bought the cement and I bought the 4x4s and that kind of stuff. I was about $150, $125 between the 2 of them, plus I gave them some food, right, and some smokes and whatnot. And then after the post went in, I had to hire somebody to put on the roof and just basically, because what happened was I had the windows donated to me, right? I got arrested for those windows, remember? Right? And so anyway, they ended up being donated to me. Poor little house is all boarded up now. Whatever windows they had in there before, they took them out or they left them and then they put boards over it. But anyway, I like these windows. So I got those windows, and once I got those windows, then I had to get the 4x4s and cement. Then I had to hire a couple of guys to cement it in length of the windows, right? Which they did. They measured out the windows and, they guesstimated, blah. And that was why it was so big, right? In terms of square footage, length and width. You have to remember, I've been outside all day, people. Stressing myself out. I can't even see myself in the camera. Let's see. I can see myself now with glasses, but take off my glasses, all I see is this fuzz, just this little shadow. So, okay. And they busted up a bunch of windows when they were working, right? So, a few windows got broken. Okay, so the frame is up. Now, whatever. And then, time went by and I had to do something, so I had to go and, I needed to build a roof, right? I was going to try and fit the windows in myself. But that's how I ended up hiring Jerry. And then, I gave him 100 and then I gave him another 50. And, winter came and he did what he could. And, and he got the basic frame in there, but over the winter I had like a whole lot of windows get broken, right? Because it just wasn't done fast enough. And he said, don't touch it. Whatever it was that he was doing out there. And when he tried to put in the one big one, it put it in on an angle and it ended up broken glass there. And then, one frame was leaning up against something, wind came, blew it down, and broken glass there, and another broken glass over there. I had broken glass all over the place over the winter with the beginnings of the frame, right? And then come spring came, and I went back to Jerry and said, look, I need to do this roof, right? I'll give you another $150, right? $100 just to do that. And of course I'd have to buy the material, right? The 2x4s. So I did that. And then, he came and put the roof on. And then I gave him another $50, so that's $300 there. So we're looking at about $450 just in labor, people. Okay, we're not talking the materials here. Okay? And I know that's not a lot of money for a lot of labor, but it is for somebody that's poor. Just trying to cover up some fucking weeds, right? So, and then, I get this fellow, hollering over my fence. And I'm like, yeah. And he's saying, well, you see that thing out in the front, do you want it? And I'm like, it was like the table end of a table, right? Like the stand part. And I'm like, no, I'll just sit out there and, the rain will just ruin it. So go ahead, take it. And he goes, well, I'll help you, right? And I'm like, yeah, okay, well, how much do you want, right? Because I do need help out here. Oh, well, $12 an hour. And I'm like, okay, well, I need help with framing. Myroslov, the one that found the bees. Okay? But when he showed up, I don't know. He did frame some things for me, but then he ended up doing other things that I didn't even want done. And, things went missing, right? My wood with the holes in it. He's an artist, right? So I'm wondering. I'm wondering, maybe he wanted that because all of a sudden, stuff sits in your yard forever, right? And it just goes missing when, a new person on the scene shows up, right? Okay? So, first it's broken windows all over the place because, I'm being told not to touch anything, so I don't touch anything. But in the meantime, in the same time, it's not getting done. And while the rains are coming and the wind is blowing and the raccoons are running around and the cats are fighting and everything's just getting knocked over and glass all over. And I went through that stage, and then I hired somebody else to do, to help me work on that shed, right? Which my landlord should have done a long time ago. Let me remind the members and friends and the viewers of this video That should have been done a long time ago. As a matter of fact, her son said that he was going to build me $1,000 shed out in the back, and it never happened, right? So, okay, so I'm like, okay, well, here, start with that, right? But before that happened, Jerry's working on the roof, and then Patrick shows up with his buddy in some freaking RV van, big long thing, right? And he's crying, I need a place to stay, and, we got no place to put this RV, and, and shut down the recovery house, and I'm like, okay, well, you owe me. You owe me that $500, right, that I got ripped off by your buddy that you called me up on. So, okay, sure. I need some help. That's how the shed started, right? It was with Patrick. Only he lasted 2 days. Because he was running around just acting like a freaking idiot. And I told his buddy Dan, right? That's how Dan showed up. Because Dan was in the RV with Patrick. But Patrick just, I don't know. So I said, forget it. Like this 1 hour worth of work all day long while you guys are sitting up in my fucking driveway. And as far as I'm concerned, you owe me money. You owe me something. Because I didn't deserve that. My kids didn't deserve that. We didn't deserve being ripped off for $500, even though the bank should have kept the check, right? Nobody likes taking responsibility for anything. So they leave. But the thing is, Dan ditched Patrick, okay? Because Patrick was a drain on Dan, just like Patrick was screwing around with me, right? So when Dan drove out of here with his RV, he left all Patrick's stuff sitting up in my driveway. Okay. So that's when Myroslov showed up in around that time. Right? I think. Because by that time, because Patrick had already done the basic frame and lifted up the one side of the shed. But he was being tardy. And I don't have time for tardiness. So I fired him. Because he was being tardy. I couldn't rely on him. And I don't have time for bullshit. Especially when I've got people sitting up in my garage that don't belong there. Right? You know what I'm saying? So, Dan, said, fine. And it was his van anyway, RV. He said, so I'm out of here. But he ended up ditching Patrick and leaving Patrick's stuff in my driveway. So now I got Patrick running around with a chip on his shoulder because his buddy ditched him in my driveway with all this crap. Right? Well, he's, taking it to the Cedar Gardens over here, which was full of poor, impoverished, drug-addicted adults for the majority of the tenants that have nowhere else to go, but, whatever. So that's where he was going with his stuff. He was biking it back and forth, right, and not saying anything to me, on the verge of tears, right, because his buddy ditched him, right, but whatever. So he left. Okay, and so now I'm here with nobody again, right? Jerry's just doing the roof, right? And a little bit of framing in, okay? Just a little bit. He hadn't even gotten, like, he didn't do any windows. Jerry wanted me to put in these one sheet big pieces of glass, and I'm like, no, I want the windows that I have. So then when Myroslov showed up, I said, look, you see these windows? This is what I want. Jerry didn't do that. It was Myroslov. I paid Myroslov to do that. And I also paid him to start working on the other side of the shed to put the roof, right? And to start building my cold room. But I don't know, he veered off to the right and cleared out my yard so, well, we can walk around the yard and, isn't that better? And I'm like, yeah, but that's not what I want. That's, we don't need to be walking around the yard right now. What we need to be doing is finishing the building things that I can't do, right? And he's out there, raking the bush that my landlord cut down and, and trying to smooth down the dirt, and I'm like, whatever. And then that's when my son started giving me a hard time for paying other people to do this stuff, right? When I should be paying him. As I'm telling him, well, there's just some things, I don't know. So anyway, I ended up paying Myroslov $140. Because I said, that's, just whatever. And, he worked $144 worth of hours, whatever the equivalent of that was. So I gave him $144 for his time, right? And he did install 3 windows for me. The 2 ones that I'm working on today, you'll see, and the big long one that, you know, have a few broken because it's been taking just way too long, people. And he put a couple of pieces of plywood because I'm scared to cut plywood by myself, a big sheet of plywood, because it wobbles, you know, and I'm not very strong with the skill saw. So when the plywood, and you get halfway through the plywood and it starts to wobble, you know, I get a little concerned. So if I can have somebody else do it for me, I would prefer that, right? So Myroslov paid for that. But thing is, you know, I'm missing my wood, right? And there was something else that went missing. I don't know what it was. I can't remember right now. I mean, nothing like, you know, I mean, it's just a piece of wood that I found at Home Depot that had a bunch of holes in it, but that's not the point. The point is, why did it go missing after he showed up? You know? And then my bees, yet. Right? And my bees. Okay. So, all right. And then, you know, Jerry shows back up on the ranch. And he's like, oh, well, you know, these windows, and, you know, well, you're supposed to wait. And I'm like, no, that's okay. I like with this. You know, and this is the way it is. I said, you know, but he wanted to put these little side slats on the beams that he's got running this way. He wanted to put these 2x2, whatever, 2 feet, you know, in between, right? So I went off and I bought more wood so he could finish the roof. And he's took the one wall that I was sanding today, and he started to install those windows, right? They're all just tacked in, right? But I haven't seen him since, so I don't know. He wants more money, but I just don't have it. I just don't have it. I have to do this stuff by myself, right? So with Jerry came broken windows. Lots of broken windows. Not all his fault, but, you know, some of it just took too long, right? And, Myroslov, stolen bees, you know, specialty wood that could have worked with bees, right? And, you know, he wanted other things in my yard, and I told him no. So, right? And then all of a sudden, Dan shows back up with his RV with some woman in there crying that he's got no place to go. And he's begging me to stay at my house for a couple of days, right? And I'm like, okay, but will you help me, right, with the shed? He goes, yeah. So, but his stamina wasn't, you know, it was better than Patrick's, but, and I really do appreciate the subfloor that he put on this other half of the shed. And he put the doors on, right? So he did really good there. He got 2 weeks out of me in the garage. He gave me $20 for hydro and a cake. But what was happening was, I told him, you can't have no friends over. You got your girlfriend or friend or whatever she is, yourself. And then he introduced Ted, and I said, okay, no more than that. You know, you need to focus on finding a place and, you know, earn your keep. Help me out. Build a few things, and I'll cut you some slack. Well, before you know it, within 4 or 5 days, 6 days, I had all these people coming and going. And I'm trying to tell him, look at buddy, like, you can't be doing this shit. And then he, you know, he got wind of my bathroom. Right? This is how Dan got into the bathroom. So he was going to help me with the bathroom. The only thing is, my landlord didn't give him the proper material to work in the bathroom. And he knew I was in a very desperate situation because nothing had been done with that bathroom for almost 2 months since the time it was ripped up from the plumber, right? So, you know, in his mind, you know, he wanted to stall for time so he could stay a little longer, right, and not have to pay rent, and, you know, at the same time help me out. But, you know, as he was going into it, it turned out to the point where it was just more like he was holding it emotionally hostage to me, you know, 2 hours here, 2 hours there, you know, an hour here, and, like, you know, we weren't really addressing the mold problem in terms of the rotten plot, you know, the rotten drywall. He was just covering it up, just to do whatever, right? And he put that, anyway, it's just garbage, right? But it's not his fault because he didn't have the right kind of cement to self-leveling cement, and he didn't have access to drywall and all this other stuff. So, and because he was screwing around so much, right, and it was becoming apparent that he was using the bathroom as a means to hang out and take advantage of the situation, I guess you could say, because he wasn't working on it fast enough, being tardy again, right? I just said, look, and his friends were getting out of control. I said, you just gotta go. Just fucking leave. And he did. He left. But the thing is, he had no insurance. He had nowhere to go. But that's not my problem. Because when his landlord, when he moved out from his landlord, apparently his landlord gave him $1,300 to vacate the premises. And, he had plenty of time to hook himself up with his RV. RV is a very big vehicle, right? It's just like a camper, a driving camper, right? And to come and, come to my house once was bad enough, and I'm trying to tell you can't be here, don't come back, but then you show up again anyway, and then I cut you some slack, and you can't control your friends, and then I feel like you're using this bathroom as an emotional tool to keep me and my family hostage to you and your antics and whatever the fuck he was going on inside that van with his little gangster friends coming around, wanting to have beef with him because when he was running the recovery house, right, the guy got arrested, his shit was left behind, and, and then his buddies came in and raided all his shit, and then the guy got out of jail, and then he wanted to go back to Dan and accuse Dan of it. I said, look, that's too much drama for me. I don't want to see it. It's not my business, man. I'm struggling with my own life here. So I had to ask him to leave. I told him, you're a man, you're resourceful. I'm sure you have a backup plan. You didn't just roll up here with no backup plan. Right? Like, it's not my responsibility to house these people. Right? Hell, I can hardly house myself. So, okay. So he leaves, right? And, day goes by, and then Tedco shows up, and he goes, where's my stuff? And I'm like, what do you mean, where's your stuff? Because Patrick had ditched Ted again. Dan had ditched Ted. Not only did he ditch Patrick, first time he left, but the second time he left, he ditched Ted. And then Ted's standing there in my driveway saying, well, where's my stuff, man? I just got out of jail. I have no clothes. And I'm like, oh, fuck. Oh, here, just hold on a minute. So I go inside in my house, right, and I grab this beautiful bag, and it said emergency preparedness. It was something that I found for free at Delta Spring Cleanup, so I said, to hell with it. I said, here's a beautiful bag for you. There's a sleeping bag in there. There's a pillow. There's a freaking blanket. I said, here's some miscellaneous clothes around the house that nobody wants. I gave him some pants and some shirts, and I sent him on his way. And then at 11 o'clock at night, I go to shut my curtains, and what do I see? I see Dan out in the front with his RV over there being towed out of here. So I'm feeling like shit now, right? And he's like, coming in with this little cart into my yard. And I'm like, well. And he's like, well, I couldn't even bribe the guy with my tools, my shit's going to be towed and blah and blah and blah. And I'm like, oh. I'm feeling like, he's trying to make me feel guilty, right? As if it was my fault. So, okay. Now, because my daughter had that party, she threw everything out in the freaking side of the house, right? Half my stuff is just getting ruined, people, like, honest to God. And, I'm tackling the garage, right? And my dad's wife's old walker. These walkers are like $400. It was suffice for my dad, because he's been reluctant to use it, right? But he can hardly move around, so I said, look, it's time to use it. But before Dan left, he eyeballed it, and he says, oh, can I have that walker? And I'm like, because for his lady friend, and I'm like, no, my dad needs it, right? And it sat in the garage, people, for 4.5 freaking years. For 4.5 freaking years, that walker has sat in the garage. Nobody's wanted it. Okay, Dan leaves, and not even 4 or 5 days later, all of a sudden, the walker is gone. Because Dan came back, but this was before the walker was gone, right? He came back a couple days later, tried to say he was in a recovery house, it's all good, right? And that You know, he managed to not get his RV impounded, but it costed him $240. It costed him $240 as if it was my fault. Right? So I'm figuring he came back, and then he said, oh, well, he said, but I want to come back and finish the job because, in terms of the bathroom, because, you know, I told him just fucking leave it, right? So it sat like for a week and a half, untouched, right? And he goes, have you done anything with the bathroom? I said, no. He goes, well, I don't want, you know, I want to finish the job, so don't worry, I'll come back. And he never did come back. He never did come back. But the walker went missing, and a metal chair that I had out on the side of the house because my daughter threw that outside, which I actually paid $100 for back in 2001. 1999, when I lived in my old house. So I've had that thing for 13, 14 years. It goes on the side of my house. It sits out there for a month until Dan shows up. And then when Dan leaves with the chip on his shoulder because he doesn't understand that it's not my responsibility to house him in my backyard and give him electricity and let his friends come and go at all hours of the night, morning, evening, daytime, like all hours. It didn't matter. Every time I looked out my window, there was somebody else. It was getting pathetic. And that's not right. That was taking advantage of the situation, right? And he wasn't even supposed to be here any more than 3 or 4 days. And he wasn't taking serious about leaving. You know, he was, well, I think I want to do this and I think I want to do that. And I'm like, no, what you need to do is go find a place to put your freaking RV. That's what you need to do. Or get rid of it. Because it's an albatross. You know, if you can't maintain it, then get rid of it. Or go park it someplace else where you're not going to get harassed. He didn't like hearing that, right? So I think Dan came back and took that walker, and I think while he was out there, he took my metal frame for my chair. I think Myroslov took my wood and my bees. He's the artist. Because they're all mad at me. One way or another, they all got little chips on their shoulder, right? Because they thought they can come in here, boss me around, even though I'm the one paying them. Right? Patrick never came back. I don't expect to see Patrick anyway. And then, you know, Jerry's just said enough is enough, right? Unless, of course, I want to go and give him some more money, which I just don't have. So I have to finish what I can on my own. And then I'm sitting in the welfare office, and I'm still in the dilemma over this bathroom, right? But by this time, I've already talked to my landlord. And I'm pleading with them and I'm begging with them that they have to pay somebody to fix it because I'm having a hard time, right? You know, and it's in a bad state. And they said, okay, find somebody, but who the hell am I going to find? Now, I don't know who to find, right? So I mentioned it to somebody sitting up in the welfare office. Okay, so he says, sure, I can know how to do all this stuff, blah, blah, blah. Well, let me just tell you this, people. I don't know. All these guys, they have my address to my YouTube channel. You know, whatever. If they like going around ripping off old people, little kids, and vulnerable women for whatever reason, because it's all about game, you know, gangster game, you know. Because sometimes I'm starting to think, you know, like, you know, well, where's my clothes? Well, I don't know. Why did your buddy ditch you? You know, well, I had to pay $240 for my, you know, to prevent my RV from being towed into impound. Well, maybe you shouldn't have shown up here the second time after I told you the first time that you can't be here. And being that I did let you stay here, why couldn't you have followed basic, simple rules and kept it short and sweet? You know, instead you had to be a drama king. Right? And then all of a sudden, something that's been sitting in the garage for 4.5 years that I told you you couldn't have because my dad needed it, all of a sudden disappears. Well, you're sitting up there trying to smile up in my face with your toothless mouth, trying to tell me you're going to come back and help, which is a bunch of crock. Well, now I got this fella named Andrew 2, right? We got Andrew 1 with the tampon heist, with the GST bank heist, right? And then we got Andrew 2. Only he's a little bossy and I don't like it. You know, he coming in and trying to tell me how to talk to my landlord yesterday. And I'm like, you know, you don't know. I've been here almost 5 years. They know who I am, right? I don't need you to tell me how to talk to my landlord, trust me. And, you know, the last time I checked, when you're ripping out all this drywall, who's cleaning it up? I am. I'm not getting paid to clean up the fucking drywall. You can take the work when you can take the credit when because I got a buddy that does drywall. So, you know, drywall is drywall, okay? And if you want to take, because I told him, you don't want to take out that part, then that's fine. You don't do that because I'll have my friend come in and do it for me. Since we're on the drywall mission now. Because since Andrew came, he was more determined to try and do it correctly. Right? I said I'd buy some material. Because I got some permission from my landlord, a little bit, not a lot. So he needed special kind of cement and all this other shit. He needed drywall. I got him the drywall, got him the cement. And there's some leaks in the pipe. You'll see all that, right? And he ripped out everything that Dan had done because that was a big waste of fucking time. And I'm glad that I ran into Andrew in that case because God forbid if I would have got stuck with what Dan had done, even though Dan's intentions were good. In terms of trying to help me with this bathroom that nobody cared about, right? For years. For years, people. And, but then he got a little, you know, too, whatever. He borrowed my socket set. I don't know. He needed to fix something at his house. He needed a 1-inch socket. So I pulled out my socket set. I gave it to him. He brought it back up. It sat up here in the kitchen. Then he took it down and ended up in the garage. And now he's saying he doesn't know where it is. Plus he's trying to sit up there and say he lost his 100-foot fucking extension cord. Kind of like Ted showing up saying, where's my clothes? I don't know where your clothes are. You know? I didn't even know they were outside. And why are you leaving your clothes out in my fucking driveway anyway? Welcome to Surrey, people. In the meantime, what's happening is this Cedar Gardens, they're clearing it out. They've flushed out all these totally disenfranchised, mentally ill, drug-addicted human beings that got absolutely no place to go. It's true. Because I drove up there the other day looking for my daughter. Because we know what's going on with my daughter still, right? And they gated it off and they got Jenna's security in there pushing everybody out and saying, well, we almost got rid of the garbage now and we're going to turn it into a real community. I looked at that freaking security guard. I said, look at buddy. I said, you know, these people are human. I didn't tell him you're talking about my daughter here, right? I said, you know, these are human people, right? You're putting your nose down on. So in the meantime, they're all moved up to the front room, right? If they're not living in the alleys these days. Okay? So, but, you know, what happened to my socket set? Well, I'm somewhat having a little tissy fit with Andrew. Because Andrew wants to put me under check. Like Myroslov. Put me under check. Like, you know, these guys, they're guys, right? They want to put me under check. Telling me to relax. I put people off. Yeah, well, you lived with the filthy fucking bathroom for 4.5 fucking years and Mickey Mouse around with it just to try and get something done. Have to deal with all these different personalities that come back in the middle of the night and start stealing from your fucking yard just to get fucking shit done around here. As you pay them? Yet to boot? Or you let them live in your freaking driveway and give them free hydro? I don't know what kind of life I live. Honest to freaking God. And my landlord tells me not to give up. The thing about Andrew, because I said I have this nonprofit. You know, if you say you can fix the bathroom and that you're all this intelligent with the cement and the tiles and blah, and you want a little part-time job because you don't want to be totally dependent on freaking welfare because your tools got all stolen and all this other crap, right? Because he said all his tools got stolen from his trunk, which could happen. So that's how he's ending up at the welfare for a little while, right? And I just happen to need somebody that knows what they're doing to fix up Dan's mistakes. That should have been done from the very get-go after they ripped up that pipe. But anyway... And then, you know, all of a sudden, You know, I give him $50, 20 here, 2 packs of smokes, another 10. So I'm out $50, right? Plus I'm out a socket set now. Well, he's running around acting like he owns the place because he's sucking up to my landlord, you know, trying to get more work after I said to him, well, like, you know, why don't you let the foundation hire you on, right? So we can kind of create some work here, you know, and help each other out. I'm helping you, you're helping me with the foundation. You know, I'll write out a receipt to the landlord in terms of the foundation because, you know, I'm trying to do entrepreneur. Well, I know how to, you know, I can get a GST number because I said I got a GST number, right? Well, I can get my own GST number. Well, okay, then fine, go get your own fucking GST number. You know, you know, and now he, you know, he's talked to my landlord yesterday, whatever. Well, now we're moving into my daughter's room because this pipe is still leaking further up, so we're going to try and find out where it's coming from and replace the wall where my daughter's head's been, right? In terms of, you know, where the bed sits along the wall, right? That whole wall has to come out now. And, you know, he asked my landlord how many houses he owns, and he says, well, 3. And, you know, my landlord's saying, well, you know, if you do a good job, you know, we'll hire you for other little odds and end jobs. And, like, he's all, you know, And I'm like, yeah, okay, buddy. Well, what's going to happen when I don't get my socket set back? Because, you know, if I'm cleaning up the mold and the drywall after you bust it and cut it out, and then you leave me with the dirtiest part of the job when it comes to dealing with the most hazardous in terms of molds, to clean it up so that when the landlord comes in, and you can say, look what I did, and then accuse me of somehow scooping up on your electrical cord just to negate on the fact that my socket set, which I pulled out specifically for you, that I've had for years and years and years, kind of like that walker, I've had that for years, goes mysteriously missing. So I'm out like $100 between the 50 because I don't know if I'm going to want to work with him after this. No, because, you know, I just, you know, if he doesn't compensate or find that socket set, because, well, I'm looking for it. I don't know if I can find it. I haven't found it yet. I haven't found my cord either. Well, you know what? It wasn't my responsibility to house Dan in my back alley and in my driveway either. Any more than it was my responsibility to give Ted some clothes because his shit was taken out from my freaking walkway over there because his buddy ditched him. So anyway, it's a real fucking headache, people. That's what I'm just trying to tell you. I don't know what's going to happen with this Andrew dude. I don't got time for bad attitude. I work too fucking hard for bad attitude. And if you can't trust them when they're on the job site, if you can't trust them because they're playing game, you know, gangster games, you know, running fucking game, right? And then you cut them loose. You fucking cut them loose, right? You just don't hire them again, right? Like Patrick, just fire them. It's not worth it because, you know, I don't know, everybody's got a bad attitude. So many people got fucking bad attitudes. You know, you tell me why I owe fucking Dan 2 weeks of fucking free housing for him to come back in the middle of the night and take my dad's walker, my dad's wife's walker, a dead woman's walker. Well, there you go, you got a dead woman's walker. You know, why do I have to be sitting up in the welfare office groveling for somebody to help me with my fucking bathroom to not even 2 days later lose my socket set? And then be accused that maybe I took his fucking extension cord when I got extension cords all over the fucking house. Doesn't make any sense. Same thing with that artist coming in here and, you know, and doing things he wasn't supposed to be doing, but yet wanted to be paid. And then all of a sudden, other little mysterious things missing. Anyway, there's the story.
Now you're gonna get in trouble.
Okay, members and friends, now we're in the bathroom nightmare here. So we got a new Andrew on board, and we don't judge a book by its name. This is a different Andrew, members and friends. Somebody that knows what he's doing and doesn't mind working for his money. Not running scams with GST checks and shit like that. Anyway, he's gonna do a really good job here, and one of my friends donated a little bit of drywall. So Andrew's gonna pull out all of this because we know it's rotten behind there, and he's gonna change it, and we're gonna check the pipes to see what's leaking, what's causing this water damage. All this flooring is coming up, even though Dan tried the best as he could with this little bit of materials that he had that were just kicking around the house. Anyway, Andrew says we need to just take up this flooring, get some proper cement, do it right the first time. So I've made it. Yeah.
Your fucking carpenters are idiots. They screw right into the fucking carpet part.
What is that?
It's copper pipe with screws in it.
Screws in it.
That's why you got water leaking all the way down.
Well, yeah, there is.
I bet you it's right in.
Actually, it goes in behind my daughter's wall. We couldn't figure out why. Now we know why. Now we know why.
Yeah, well, now I gotta freaking take all this out because it's all got holes in it from whoever put this drywall.
Well, yeah, because it's leaking behind my daughter's wall, behind her bed there. So now we know why.
Okay, you need to go to Home Depot and get some copper soldering.
Copper soldering?
Yeah, do you have a torch?
No. Do I have a torch? Kaboom! Alrighty-o. I have never been so stressed out in my whole fucking life. I work all fucking day long in a stupid fucking yard full of fucking weeds and mud. And then I gotta deal with this stupid shit. People drilling holes into pipes. Well, at least this time it's gonna get fixed right. Okay, members and friends. I'm gonna start my day again and again and again. I don't know. Working on this bathroom. Somebody else now. I really need to tell this story in terms of how a landlord leaves the tenant to struggle with certain things that they shouldn't have to struggle with just in order to live in a house and try and provide a home for their family. I've been spending money left, right, and center. Even though I get a lot of wood for free from Home Depot, right? I definitely get a lot of wood. I'm still having to buy things. Nails, paint, cement, you know, water hoses, sprinkler systems, you know, to spray the water, and just miscellaneous tools and a screen, right? And all to cover up weeds. Just remember, members and friends, this yard was a mud pit full of weeds. That's all it was. So today, anyway, I'm coming out here because I've been out here. I've been outside every day for the last 5 days, and I'm sick of it. Like, honest to God. But I might be doing childcare here in the next little while, so I have to just hang in there and keep pushing forward. Right? I'm doing window frames right now. I'm putting up little, you know, the wood to hold the frame in place. I installed that window. And now I'm using my skill saw, cutting boards, because I don't have the money to buy the trim. So, to make it for securing the window frame. Anyway, we'll be back. Okay, so let me remind people that this is what my yard used to look like. Throughout the whole yard. I didn't have blackberries throughout my whole yard, but I sure in the heck had this morning glory. Well, this is actually a bindweed. Throughout my whole yard. This is where I'm going to start in the corner because this blackberry bush is growing and starting to smother the raspberries. I don't know about this blackberry bush. Anyway. Okay, members and friends. I'm picking away at it here. This is the window that broke after Jerry put the frame in. And then I guess the strain of trying to do it by himself twisted the glass. I was kind of upset about that because it was a double frame. Double, you know, double glass, right? And it fit in here perfect. This one, this frame, was actually supposed to go on the other side, over there. And there was another frame that Patrick ripped up that actually fit over there. But when Jerry did the frame, he put the door there and made it too short for that frame, as you can see. But it's working out. It's okay. I prefer this anyway, now that this is gone. Right? Now, we have this one here. I'm working on it. So what I might do is take this frame, try and get the glass out, and use it as a part roof for the hen house as a frame. But in terms of this over here, obviously I still have raccoons shitting in my yard. I seen a mother with a teeny weeny little baby the other day, but they're shitting in a box. So maybe I should just clean the box and position the box where they have access to the box, and maybe they'll just keep doing that. But as you can see, they also like to shit there. Right around in there. It's disgusting. That's the stuff that makes me sick, people. And I do this every year. Every fucking year. Okay, members and friends, it's been a while here. I am going to just touch base. Here's my potato plants. They've gotten quite big. I gave them some water yesterday and some of them fell down. Here's my peas. Peas everywhere. I've been eating them. They're everywhere. And then you can see the beans are just going nuts. Alright? And then I don't know how potato farmers do it, but I took these things, they bloomed, right? And then they got these little green, their flowers turned into little green balls. So I took some of them and I buried them just to see what happens, because I don't know if that's a potato or what that is. Hold on a minute. Okay. This is what I'm talking about. These things. What is that? What is that? Do they go in the ground and grow more potatoes, or do they become potatoes? Like, what is that? I don't know. But anyway, I buried some. Just to see what happens. Right? So, I'm working on the greenhouse today a little bit before it gets too hot. I've been trying to paint it. So today I'm going to do a little bit of woodwork, and this is all my donation from Home Depot. These ones here. So I'll run them. Start recycling some of this styrofoam I have in the yard. So we'll be back. Okay, members and friends, I'm in the greenhouse here. Now I'm trying to build in walls, and I'm doing the frames, and you know, I put in one window myself. This one seems to be always a little moist inside, though. I don't know why. Jerry was doing this, but he kind of disappeared, so I'm going to work on that and finish that. And I'm trying to, you know, get these in. But in the meantime, I have this plastic that I'm going to run down. And I think I'm going to insulate it from the inside more, starting with the high point. I have a problem over here. I don't know what to do to fix that big gaping hole. Where is it? Oh, hold on, people. You can see it right there. So, we'll be back. Okay, so I'm making my own trim They're not easy, people. They're not even very straight. Look at that. You see it? Doesn't even line up. Oh, this is just freaking lovely. Okay, so the second cut was much better. I figured out a system here. These tools are made for a man. They're not made for women's hands. Right? But anyway. There we go. I'll make a few more. Alrighty-o. So it's about 5 o'clock this afternoon. And what I'm going to do now, these are the boards I was cutting. I pre-painted, right? I thought that might be a good idea. And then I'm going to now start putting them in. Alright. As best as I can. Figure something out. And then I sanded those window frames. Well, more on the outside. I still have those ones to do. These are really nice window frames. I like them. But it's tedious work. Here, you can see. Alright, that one needs to be done. I don't know what kind of wood this is, but it's nice. So I'm going to stain these. I'm going to put some wood glue in the holes. Or wood filler or whatever. And then I'm going to stain them. They're quite nice. I like them. And then these are supposed to open up. So we'll see. We'll be back. Okay, so what I'm doing here, I'm adding in some of this putty. Try and seal it, right? And it'll go underneath that. And then I put this on. Alright, push it in tight and then give it a finishing nail. Okay, so now I'm on the other side. I move the window over as much as I can, and it's just enough to fit this piece in there. And then of course I have to run it up, right? It's a little crooked, this one window. I don't know what's crooked, but it doesn't really matter. Alright. So we'll be back. And then this I can do one of these sticks on the other side because there's still a little hole, right? I'll have to put more putty in here. You can see. I'll put more putty in there after. And then I'll run a 1x1 over that. And that will make it nice and tight. I don't know what I'm going to do in here though. Okay. See that little piece of wood there? I just put that in there to kind of wedge it in place just to align the window. Just wanted to point that out. Okay, so what I did is I took some styrofoam, as you can see, right? Just plug it up before I put that putty in, but we can still see through the walls. Okay, so this putty on the outside is going pretty fast. Oops, hold on. Sorry. That's all putty in there. With the styrofoam in between, because these are windows, right, that fit in a frame. So they had that gap, plus the frame itself, in terms of the greenhouse, is a little crooked. So you're going to see you've got this ridge here. But this is not so bad. So a little bit of putty there. And then I put it in there. And then probably fill that up with putty as well. Because it was starting to stick out. Hold on. It was coming out, so I just made it flush. I hate to see what my finger's going to feel like tomorrow, people. I wake up in the morning and it's like this and I can't open it. It hurts. I have to take my other hand and make my finger move. I got to do that for about 4 or 5 times before I can kind of go click and click It's awful. It's nothing to laugh about. Okay, so what I've done is put the putty, styrofoam putty, and then putty, then that on, and then fill in the gap with the putty, try and make it nice and flush, and then I'll take a little bit of a sandpaper after when it dries, and then I'll paint it to the seam. Here, you can see I can take my finger, I can stick it in there, but, oops, sorry. Right, so I'm going to fill that up with putty as the other side. Hold on. Okay, so that's what it looks like now. I'll be right back. Alrighty, members and friends, this is exactly what I'm talking about. You know what that's covered in? Water. See that? Bullshit. Just a lot of fucking bullshit. I'm just chucking everything out. Most of it. Look at this. Doesn't mean anything to anybody around here. That's what happens when you don't have proper storage. Anyway, I'm washing all day. But it's a joke. See the water in here too. It doesn't like this is my leaky. Tried to repair a leaky porch. See the water? That's what I'm washing tomorrow. See the water in there? Bullshit. Okay, members and friends, today's Sunday, and I actually have a bit of energy here to go out and do some yard work, because if I don't do it, it doesn't get done. I have to go to Home Depot. I kind of put myself in the hole here. You know, you can't do things unless you have, you know, tools, right? It's called resources, right? And unfortunately, I have to buy these things for myself because my landlady doesn't provide it for me. So, I don't know. I didn't pay some bills, and but I'm going to be back. Hold on. Okay, so here's some more of this stuff that I had to buy. This is contact cement, right, to finish this basement floor. Dan came by and got the soccer balls, because I had a bunch of soccer balls I found them a long time ago at Delta, you know, spring cleanup, right, a couple, 3-4 years ago, and they've been sitting in the garage, and he came across them when he was here with his RV for a bit, so he came back. Anyway, long story short, he said he was going to come back and finish the bathroom, but I haven't seen him since. He says he doesn't like to leave without finishing a job. So, I don't know. I went off and I bought some contact cement for him, and I bought him a sander, and I bought some sand for that bathtub because he kind of messed up on that bathtub. But anyway, and then, you know, I had to get some wood stain, right, to protect the greenhouse, right? Because that's really important. No point in doing all this with the greenhouse if you're not going to protect the wood. And then because I was at Home Depot, I found some for outside porch and whatnot. So this is perfect, and it's a different color than what I have. So this was free. This I had to pay for. This I had to pay for. This is just some of the things I had to pay for, but I'll be back. Okay, first thing, I seen a hummingbird in there when I was up on the porch. Okay, on to business. So I'm out in the yard today. It's a little dismal, but that's okay. Hopefully it won't rain that much. If it rains at all, I would prefer it not to drizzle. Home Depot donation. So I am going to attack that today because I don't want it to be rained on anymore, and it already has been. I'm talking. So we're going to see if we can do some trim a little bit on the greenhouse today and level off the hen house. So we'll be back. Okay, so there is one of my little levels, and it's way off the mark. So we're going to see if we can level this out just a little bit. I guess I'll take it from this side. I don't know. I've been having problems with my baby finger on my right side, seizing up on me. I get up in the morning and I can't even open my hand. So, but anyway, we'll be back. Okay, members and friends. I guess I'm kind of on the hen house here. I'm not leveling it very well, and I don't got a lot of time, and I got an injured finger. So anyway, what I've done here, the reason I'm in here right now talking to you right now is I just put, my little grandson's digging, he's working hard right now. I just put some bricks, or not bricks, wood on top of these bricks. And what I'm going to do, since I've got a bee robber in the neighborhood, right? Do you see how this would have been if it was an animal digging? You get that little shake. Well, there was no shake. It was scooped out, so I'm really suspicious. But anyway, since bees seem to like this stuff, what I'm going to do for next year, because they'll find their way. If they want it, they'll find it. And I'm just going to take this stuff. Oops. And I'm going to put it all in there. In these bricks, in these holes, just like this. And if the bees want to re-nest with a new queen, they will. And this way, if it was the chickens that did this and came in here when I wasn't looking and ate bees and the wax and everything else that these wild bees make for a nest, because like I said, everything was gone. The wax was gone, the bees were gone, the queen was gone. So that, and just the way, the evidence of the way it was taken, scooped out versus, with a little pile of dirt over here, right? There was nothing like that when I came in. But anyway, I just wanted to point this out, that this might come in handy for bees, because it will give them the protection that they need from chickens in the event that it was a chicken. And it would be harder for humans to get in there as well and take the nest. So we'll be back. Alright, members and friends. I don't know, raccoons definitely want chickens. They go after chickens. Because there's been a raccoon in my yard twice today attacking these chickens. I just seen it. It just came in here, attacked Ladybird. She got her feathers everywhere. And then he ran off over there. And then Mr. Lace earlier today was defending again. So 2 times the birds got attacked today by a raccoon. And it's only 6:30 in the evening. Okay, members and friends, this is the corner I'm going to tackle today before it gets out of control. Seriously. And cut down those blackberry bushes. We'll be back. Okay, members and friends, I brought you to a side of the house that I don't normally talk about because I'm always so busy. There's that pile of mess I got to clear out. Porch is half done. Anyway, this here is just going to be a little play area for children. As you can hear in the background, there's enough of them out here. I kind of want to have a little arbor to protect their heads from any bugs that might come out of the trees. But, it costs money, so we'll see. Never know what I might find, though, right? And so anyway, when Dan was here briefly, he started to cut down the tree because it gets pretty dark and people come in here and do whatever, right? They've eaten their meals in here, but so this is going to be a little play area anyway for the children. I'll bring the playhouse. I'm hoping to be able to put up a tire swing. This branch right here might actually, whoop, hold on. This one might be, I don't know. There's this one right here. Not very sturdy. I could probably put my weight on that and break that, so I don't know. We'll see. Okay, members and friends, I never knew this, I never knew that pine needles actually grow out of the branch. See that? Alrighty-o. So I think what we're going to do here, members and friends, is we're going to stick with logistics. So as you can see, I'm laying another board. I just put this one in, this one right here. And then I'm going to make a little wall. And then run another board through there. And try and cement the post. The other day, me and my little grandson were out here painting. I was painting pallets, and my grandson was painting the hen house. So, we'll be back.
I can't paint there.
Well, not right now, but we'll be back. Okay, members and friends, I'm in the mini greenhouse here. It ended up getting aphids. So, this just, I don't know. So I'm going to start clearing it out. Anyway, it has a leak. Even though I tried to silicone it, it still leaks. So, I don't know, try and fix that up. But we'll clear it out. But this plant here, I'll tell you, is so bone dry. I have not watered this plant. It's an organo of sorts. It's a Cuban organo. And it can live in the desert, I swear. I wonder what will happen if I give it water all the time. I haven't watered it in like over a month. Still kicking. So I'm going to make a little painting room or something, maybe for Andre, with just a couple plants in here, since we've got the big greenhouse coming. Right? So we'll be back.